Welcome to our live webinar. My name is Nicola Pomponio. Thank you so much for taking the time to log on. We are so excited to be able to virtually travel to Spain today. We discover one of the most famous wineries of Spain in Penedès in Catalonia. Without further ado, I would like to hand over the virtual microphone to the Queen of Cava, Gloria Colel, and Pedro Ferrer, the CEO of the Freixenet Group. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So we want to today, well, first of all, we're very happy to be with you. Sorry that we cannot do it in person. You know, I think the nice thing would be to be there with you in the States. That would be wonderful, but I mean, that will be in the future. We hope they will be soon in the future that we can do that we can be with you. The Freixenet, you say the company, my family, we were producing wine already in 1861. That's when we were producing the first record that we have of the family producing wine, and it was, but back then it was fortified wine, so it was not a sparkling wine. It was fortified wine that the family was producing, and it was the Sala family, which was the family of my grandmother. And they were producing fortified wine, and most of it was going actually to America, not so much to the US, but it was going to some of the Spanish colonies in America, such as was going to Cuba, was going to Puerto Rico, it was going to Uruguay, for example, it was going to those places. And that stopped when the phylloxera, that business stopped because of the phylloxera, you know, that destroyed the vineyards in our area, completely destroyed the vineyards. And also what happened is also that Spain lost those colonies, and then the business also was finished. So early in the 20th century, so in the 1900s, the business was closed. Basically, it was no longer running. And then it was when my grandmother married to my grandfather, Pedro Ferrer Bosch. His name was Pedro Ferrer, like me, they married. And Pedro was coming from a farm close to here, to this area, and the farm is called La Freixeneda, which in our language, in Catalan, La Freixeneda means the ash tree grove. So it was a place where the ash trees grow, and that was the name of the farm. And the people from that farm were called the Freixenets. So the name Freixenet comes, the brand Freixenet, the name comes from that place where my grandfather was there. He was very happy because my grandfather didn't get the farm because the eldest brother was the one that inherited the farm from the parents. So my grandfather didn't inherited the farm, but he married to my grandmother, which she had Casa Sala. She was the only child, so she was the only daughter. So she was the person that was going to inherit Casa Sala. So actually, Freixenet, the name is Freixenet and comes from La Freixeneda, but we started in Casa Sala. And here in Casa Sala, they had a vineyard outside San Sadurní de Noia. And then back then, some people in town already had started producing sparkling wine. And it was my grandfather that had the idea to start producing sparkling wine. And that was in 1914, was the first time that some bottles of Freixenet were produced with a label saying Freixenet. That was in 1914 that they started producing. From the beginning, my grandfather and my grandmother, the two of them worked together very well. My grandfather liked to go out and sell, and he was very much a person that liked to be with the customers and to be out in the street. He loved that, and my grandmother liked it very much to be in the lab producing and tasting wine. So the two were like a perfect team, the grandfather and the grandmother. So they were very successful. My grandfather, from the beginning, he had the idea that we had to sell outside Spain, and he always, he loved the United States, so he had the idea back in the 30s to come to the States to produce sparkling wine. And the idea of my grandfather, which was kind of crazy, because he wanted to do that in 1934, so almost 1 year after, after repeal, or right after repeal, he had the idea that he was going to bring bulk wine out of this area of San Sadurní, and we were going to bottle the bulk wine in New Jersey. Actually, we were going to do the traditional method, the method champenoise. We were going to produce champagne then in New Jersey with the wine coming from this area, with the Catalan wine. Then what happened? I mean, I think that was a very incredible idea. It would have been extremely. I always think what would have happened if that project could have gone through. Maybe now we would be like God or something like that. So I always think, I mean, that would have been interesting to see how that could have developed. Unfortunately, in 1936, the Spanish Civil War started, as you know. So my grandfather was killed during the Civil War. One of my uncles, Juan, he was the eldest son, also was killed during the war. So and of course with the war, the business had to stop. So then when the war was over in 1939, the war was over, and then it was only my grandmother left. And my grandmother with two aunts, they were the only women were left in the company, in the family, because all the men had been killed during the war, and the only man remaining was my father. But my father was only 10 years old, so it was different. I mean, of course, I mean, as you can imagine, no kid with 10 years old could start a business and develop a business. So at that point, it had to be the ladies in the family, the woman in the family, that had to run the business and had to rebuild the business, because the company, the winery, had been closed during the war. So they had to start again almost from scratch. They had to start with selling Freixenet again. And then it was back in the late 50s, when my father was 25 years old, when he started getting involved in the business and pushing the business. And well, I mean, my father, I think he did an incredible job, because I mean, from this little town outside Barcelona, I mean, he created a company that is now the #1 sparkling wine produced by Method Champenoise in the world. So I think that was a major, accomplishment that he did. And maybe now.
No, and I was also thinking that Freixenet, as a family and as a company, it always has been a company where women have been playing an important role. No? Your grandmother was a woman that I heard that she was very good on tasting, and she was able to tasting, to identify just on blind tasting the vineyard that the product was coming from. And also your mother has been always supporting your father and your own, no, that Tia Lola was also, I mean, women have been quite important.
No, that's so true. That they were very, and back then, after the war, they were very, very important. It was very good that my grandmother always was very involved. She was, I mean, from the beginning, she was in the lab, but she also was running like the accounting of the company, because my grandfather, basically, he was out, he was traveling and trying to develop the brand. So it was my grandmother that was here in the back office. So she knew the business. I think the good thing was that she knew the business very well. So she was really capable of developing the business after the war, and that's because she already was a businesswoman. So she knew production, she knew accounting, she knew the company very well.
Yeah. So where all these things happen? I mean, where are we? Where is Freixenet? No, I mean, so for the ones who don't know where we are in Spain. We are in northeast Spain, close to Barcelona, in the wine region called Penedès. And we are like 45 minutes south of Barcelona, enjoying a wonderful Mediterranean climate. As you can see, for us, the sea is like half an hour far from us, from the Mediterranean Sea. We have a privileged climate conditions, ideal for growing, for the vine growing in the area, and ideal for the cultivation of the three most important grapes. I guess you all know which are the grapes that are mainly responsible for the success of the cava all over the world. But those are 3 white grapes. Those are the grapes which are, for instance, making the blend, the coupage of Cordon Negro. And those grapes are local grapes. They are Macabeo, Charelo, and Parellada. I guess you know them already, but why are they important? Why grapes and the blend of the grapes is important in the method traditional winemaking process? I always said that Macabeo would probably make or produce a good wine by itself, and Charelo too, and Parellada too. But the 3 together, they do make a better wine. They do complement one to each other. And for instance, the personality that Parellada lacks is complemented by Charelo, and the perfumes of Macabeo, they complement the perfumes of Charelo. So the 3 of them, they complement one to each other. And this is one of the best secrets of the method traditional or the cava method, okay? Today we will be talking and we'll be tasting one of our pillars, which is Cordon Negro. But I would like to pass on Pedro to explain us a little bit about the creation of Cordon Negro, because this is a special and unique packaging product, and it has there's a history behind, yeah?
Well, Cordon Negro is it's the famous black bottle, the champagne in the black bottle. And I remember now in the States, whenever I come, whenever we come here, we have to the States, we have to go through immigration. So the police there, immigration, the officer, they always, and what do you do? And I always, well, no, I'm with Freixenet. And then and then sometimes they look like they are not too sure about that name, not being familiar. And then I say, no, Freixenet, is a champagne in a black bottle. And then many of them they say, oh yes, that I know the black bottle. So it's really it's been an icon for us. I mean, it was a great idea.
And it was a revolution because all the bottles were green.
Yes, it was a revolution. All the bottles were green, and in 1945, we created the first bottle that was white, frosted.
The Carta Nevada, yeah, that one.
It was the Carta Nevada. That was a big success in Spain, especially in the 60s. Throughout Spain, it was a huge success. The white bottle, the Carta Nevada, in the 60s, between the 60s and the 70s. So then my father, in the early 70s, in 1972, he says, well, we have a white bottle, so we'll develop a black bottle. It will be like the brother, and it will be more premium than the white frosted bottle. It will be better quality, more premium, and he developed this. And he always says, well, something interesting, he says that when he put all the bottles in the caves, that he had one of his competitors from town, and I'm not going to say the name, but it's a very famous competitor here in town, came to see him, and they went around the caves, and the competitor saw those black bottles, and he thought it was crazy, and told him, Jose, I think you'll have to drink a lot of black bottles yourself, because you're not going to sell a single one of them. So my father says, never take advice from one of your competitors.
Never.
So
Cordon Negro is definitely our icon and the star of the company. And we are now making it in different styles, in different sweetnesses. The 4 different sweetness level you have in the US, they do have the same blend, at least the 3 styles, the whites. So the Cordon Negro Brut, Sweet Cuvée, and the extra dry, they are made with the blend of the 3 white grapes, Macabeo, Charelo, and Parellada. Which is the style of the house? The style of the house is a style which combines a little bit complexity, looking for the yeastiness, looking for the toasty, looking for those dried fruits that's so typical of the second fermentation in the bottle, but always looking for the right balance with citrus, with fresh fruit, primary aromas, looking for the apples, so typical from those Mediterranean grapes, okay? And then for the rosé, we use also 2 local grapes, Trepat and Garnacha. Freixenet is a big supporter of local grapes, grapes which have been here growing since, I was reading today, since the 16th century. So this is an ideal area and climate for this kind of grapes. And the local grapes have been here forever, and this is why they are so well adapted to all kind of climatic conditions. So rosé is made with trepat and garnacha. But I think that maybe we could taste them together and enjoy them together. Hopefully you have a glass and you have a bottle with you. Shall we, Nicola? Shall we taste them?
Absolutely. Let's begin the tasting.
Okay, so let's start with the Cordon Negro Brut. As I said, we always look for freshness. This is a product that we have to consider that who will be our consumer, where this product will be exported, where people will be enjoying it, and Cordon Negro is all over the world. This is the answer. So we are looking for this fresh, citrus, lemony, apple, fresh apple, green apple, but really super well combined with this aging, a little bit of toastiness, but not dominating, looking for a balance. And this is the brut dosage, which means 9 grams of sugar only, 9 grams of sugar per liter, which means I think it's like really few, only for a glass. With Cordon Negro Brut, we look also for a good acidity. Can you feel it? Good acidity, but avoiding always the bitterness and astringency that sometimes, due to the second fermentation with the leaves, some sparklings might have. Yeah, I hope you like it. I like, honestly, here at Freixenet or in the region, we do have a glass of cava and a glass of Cordon Negro with all kind of food and without food too, as an appetizer, at the terrace, at the patio, before a barbecue, as a welcome glass. But we also like it with fish. We like it with seafood, with pasta dishes. I like it very much with pasta. Salads, with salads is very good. But honestly, with the whole meal, Cordon Negro Brut is so versatile in terms of sweetness and body that you can have it from the beginning till the end of the meal. Okay, let's have the rosé.
And by the way, if anyone has any questions, let's please go ahead and put them into the chat.
Yes, please. So for the rosé, we also selected 2 grapes which are quite local, Trepat and Garnacha. Well, Garnacha is Grenache. Grenache is probably more popular, but because in France they cultivate it in the Rhone Valley and in many other places around Spain. But Garnacha is original from Spain. So, but this is mainly made by Trepat, which is a super local grape variety, ideal for rosés. These kind of strawberries, wild berries, fresh fruit, and keeping the freshness and the acidity. And the Grenache brings all these kind of like chocolate taste, the figs, more riper aromas, so typical from Garnacha, and at the same time Garnacha enhances the intensity of aromas. The sweetness of this is 9 grams also, it's a brut. And looking for the ripe fruits, but super well balanced with a good acidity. Both Cordon Negro Brut and the Rosé, they do have an aging time from 12 to 15 months. We always look, as I said, for a certain complexity, but always keeping the freshness to have a fresh and a good acidity.
Fantastic, Pedro and Gloria. Thank you so much for the amazing insights on the wines and the amazing history. Pedro, I learned a lot of new things there. That was great. We are going to begin the question and answer portion of our webinar. So the first question we have is, can you speak about the 19th century replanting after phylloxera?
Yeah, phylloxera was an important hit for the region. It came from they say that it came from United States through UK, and through UK arrived to Europe, France, and from France to Spain. We had to remove all the vines and then replant again.
And you know, something interesting about phylloxera, because it arrived to France first. So all the vineyards in France were destroyed.
Were devastated, yes.
Devastated, and Spain was free of phylloxera back then. And then wine became a huge business, and it was like a bubble. One of those real estate bubbles. So in Spain, suddenly it was the only country in Europe that was producing wine, and it was a huge business. The price was extremely high. It was and they felt that because we have the mountains, the Pyrenees, that the phylloxera never was going to the mountain. I was never going to arrive to Spain, and they were so confident about that. Well, as you know, I mean, many times to be so confident about how to, and not preparing, I mean, it's dangerous.
It's familiar for me.
Yes,
It's confident. Yes. Sounds familiar. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. So we had to replant, but we were using Macabeo, Charero, and Parellada grapes the same. But the thing is that we had to change from using the American rootstock, as you know, that it has never been affected by phylloxera. So, but it was a big hit and affected a lot the business of the whole area.
Okay, why was the original Pedro Ferrer nicknamed the Freixenet?
Well, no, they were called Freixenet because the name of the place where he was born, the farm where he was born, was Freixenet. So for the local people, the people from that area, from that farm, the Freixenet, they were called the Freixenets. So his nickname was Freixenet, and that's where he got the idea of. I mean, that was a.
You putting on the label, yes.
Putting on the label, which I don't know. Well,
was a nickname.
It's been a very good brand. I mean, it's obvious that it has been a great brand, even though I mean it's strange with the X in the middle and all that is. So it's kind of a strange name, but
for us it's not.
It's been very successful. For us, not that strange.
Yeah, I mean, for us it's not that. We know that for you maybe it's quite difficult to pronounce, and many people they don't know how to pronounce the X and all these letters. But for us it's easy. So, but we understand that you raised that question.
How did Freixenet become the sponsor of the 1992 Olympics in Barcelona? How did that all come about?
Well, that happened because I think we had to. Our feeling that it was that it had to when such a huge event, which kind of, I mean, it was huge for Barcelona. I mean, and it really changed the city of Barcelona. I mean, Barcelona up to that point was kind of a sleepy city in the Mediterranean. It was, I mean, it was not much in Barcelona.
No,
I mean,
it was not open to the sea.
It was pretty, but it was not open to the sea. It was had been very much an industrial town, but most of the industries had kind of gone down. I mean, because of competition from all over parts of the world. It was like a sleepy city that the factories were closed. I mean, was not doing so well. So the Olympics were really for Barcelona, were changed the city.
Everything, yeah, changed the face and the country, yeah.
And the country, and we are from here. We are 30 miles away from Barcelona. My mother, for example, is born in Barcelona. My father is born here in San Sadurní, but my mother is born in Barcelona. They met in Barcelona, so we are locals. So we felt that when such a huge event was happening in our town, that it was an opportunity. I mean, it was going to be expensive. It was going to cost money, but it was the type of thing that we had to do. So it was clear for us that we had to do that, and that we had to. It was wonderful. I mean, I hope it happens again because it was wonderful. For example, to have all our distributors, all our people working for us. I mean, from the US coming here.
Yeah.
I remember. I mean, all the distributors we had, like they were at the closing ceremony of the Olympic Games. All the people from the US. So that was incredible experience. And for us to be able to entertain all our customers from all over the world, to entertain them here
at home, yes.
At home during that big event. I mean, it was magical.
Amazing. This is more of a technical question. Why is Trepat used for the rosé?
Well, as I said, I mean, we look for freshness. We look for, in our covers, we look for freshness, for a balance between acidity, freshness, complexity, and trepat. When we produce it and we select very good grapes, we can have that kind of profile of fresh fruit, raspberries, strawberries that we wish for our Cava Rosé.
Yeah, you know the Trepat mostly is from America area, is more inland.
More inland, and it's quite south of in the area of Tarragona, and there are only 1,000 hectares of vineyards, and I could say that almost 80% of the total Trepat available, we take it all because we need it.
The area is called Conca de Barberá.
Conca de Barberá.
Called Conca de Barberá, where there is one of the nicest monasteries in Catalonia in that area.
When we're out selling, we love to have fun facts because they break up the conversation. Can you tell us a little bit about how Freixenet was able to go into space?
Well, I think it was with, unfortunately, I think it was with the Russians.
Sí.
I don't know how. Russian lady, yeah. And I don't know why. I think it was our distributor in Russia that made an agreement with the space agency there, and they had an agreement. So it flew into the space,
and she opened the bottle in front of all the audience from all over the world.
And when you see, it's very nice, no? Because when she pours
the liquid,
but the liquid is like solid, no? So it's like a bubble of
like magic.
That flies into the glass.
Into the glass.
That's amazing. I need to Google that video. Well, our 30 minutes has already come to an end. I can't believe how quickly it went, but we do have more questions. So if time allows you, I would like you to stay with us. If not, thank you so much for joining us, but we're going to continue with a few more questions. With over 1,000 wine growers, how does Freixenet maintain top quality?
Good question. 1,000 wine growers means that 1,000 families that have been providing Freixenet with their best fruits for many, many years. So this is not a business deal. It is, but it is also a long relationship of years and years. We are now dealing with the third, sometimes fourth generation of vine growers, families who are delivering the grapes to us. So having said that, we do supervise the control, the quality control throughout the year. We have a team that visits the different vineyards throughout the region, and we monitor the level of growing, the cycle of the vine throughout the year. And we also have a fluent communication with them, giving them messages or sending them messages when there is a certain illness or virus that is coming, all about treatments, all about those things. And then when harvest comes, we have a deep quality control when the grape arrives. There are 16 different analytics that we run to the grape, just to allow them to come in, to get into the press. So it's a deep quality control. Yeah, because we have a lot of there's so much to lose if we receive a truck of let's say rotten grapes. We have so much to lose that we cannot take that risk.
Fantastic. Next question. Since Freixenet is non-vintage, do you combine vintages from previous years or various years?
Something, yes. Usually we keep some, we don't bottle. Like now we bought all the wine from the harvest 2019, but we will not bottle 100% of the wine this year. So we keep a percentage of wine. Maybe we'll get 20%. We will not bottle. So we'll keep 20% of wine from 2019 without bottling. So then when the new harvest, the harvest from 2020 will come in next January, you know, usually the bottling, the tirage, what we call tirage, starts in January. And we'll start the first coup, at the beginning, we'll blend the wine from the previous year into the young wine from the year.
Mm-hmm.
And we do that almost every year.
And in that way we do get a stable taste throughout the vintages. No matter if one vintage has been producing more acidic wines or less fruity wines, as you keep some wines from previous vintage, you can have an equal, more or less an equal taste throughout the year.
But as I was saying, we keep like 20%.
We keep like 20%.
So usually in any blend, there is 80% is the wine from that vintage, and only 20% is wine, reserved wine from the previous
one.
From the previous wine. So it's not it's not 50% of the blend.
No.
It's just 20% of the blend.
Great. Next question is, how does the Mediterranean climate influence the different areas of cultivation for Freixenet? The coast, the flatlands, the mountains? Do certain varietals grow better in certain areas? Do they give different qualities to the wine?
Yeah, in a way we could say that the area is divided in 3 different lines, 3 different areas. The closest to the sea, which is better adapted for a grape like Xarel·lo. And then we have in the middle, which is the middle Penedès, it's better for Macabeo. And then the higher parts, the upper Penedès, it's ideal also for Macabeo and for Parellada. So although the 3 of them can grow all over, but it's true that depending on the altitude and the daily temperatures, they grow better in different areas. Yes, they are adapted to different areas.
And the nice thing about the area is very, it's not that big, but we go from the ocean. So you go from the beach into the mountains like in 20 miles, and you go from 0 feet, so into sea level, into more or less into 2,000, 3,000 feet of altitude. So that gives us a lot of, in a fairly small area, we have a lot of microclimates.
That's true.
Well, Pedro and Gloria, we want to thank you so much for the time that you dedicated for everyone to learn a little bit more about Freixenet. The wines are amazing. Pedro, thank you so much for your time. Gloria, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to hand it over to you for the close.
Well, I think it's a good opportunity for us to invite you on visiting us, no, Pedro?
Yes, when that's possible.
Exactly. When conditions are get to normality, we would like to see you all.
Well, yes, we would like to see you all. I remember that we were actually, before everything happening, we were planning into going around Spain to see all the different wineries that we have. No? We were going to go to Galicia and then to Ribera del Duero and then Rioja, and then we were going to come over here. But then, as you know, the world suddenly changed. So we
will do it sooner or later.
What I'm convinced is when we travel again, I think we'll travel for longer periods of time. So something I'm thinking is if I come to the US, I'm no longer going to come for 2 or 3 days.
You will be there for a week or more.
I think so, or a month.
Not a month.
So if I come, I will be there in your office for a month at least.
Well, that's not a good plan. That's not a bad plan.
Okay.
Well, we welcome you. Thank you so much. Thank you again for everyone. Thank you for joining the live webinar. We'll talk to you soon. Gracias. Salud.
Salud, everybody.